What is the difference between international and non-international armed conflicts? Recent events have brought the topic of armed conflicts into the spotlight. Many are asking, what is the difference between international and non-international armed conflicts? Understanding this distinction is essential for grasping the legal frameworks that govern these situations. As conflicts arise around the world, knowing the rules that apply can help clarify the protections available for those affected. In international humanitarian law, the distinction between international armed conflicts and non-international armed conflicts is fundamental. An international armed conflict occurs when armed violence involves two or more states. This includes declared wars and any armed confrontations between states, regardless of formal declarations. The Geneva Conventions of 1949 apply fully to international armed conflicts. They provide detailed protections for wounded and sick soldiers, prisoners of war, and civilians. On the other hand, a non-international armed conflict takes place within a single state. It involves prolonged armed violence between government forces and organized armed groups, or between such groups themselves. Non-international armed conflicts are governed primarily by Common Article 3 of the Geneva Conventions and Additional Protocol Roman II from 1977. These set minimum standards for humane treatment and prohibit violence against people not participating in hostilities. The legal framework for non-international armed conflicts is more limited compared to international armed conflicts. This reflects the complex nature of internal conflicts and the sovereignty concerns of states. The key differences between the two types of conflicts can be summarized as follows. In international armed conflicts, the parties involved are two or more states. In contrast, non-international armed conflicts involve government forces against non-state armed groups or between armed groups within a state. The applicable treaties also differ. International armed conflicts are governed by the Geneva Conventions and Additional Protocol I. Non-international armed conflicts relying on Common Article 3 and Additional Protocol Roman II, if applicable. Regarding the scope of protections, international armed conflicts offer extensive protections for combatants and civilians. Non-international armed conflicts focus on limited protections that emphasize humane treatment and minimum standards. Legal recognition is clearer in international armed conflicts, while non-international armed conflicts requiring a certain level of organization and intensity of conflict to be recognized. Rules regarding the conduct of hostilities are also different. International armed conflicts have detailed rules on targeting, treatment of prisoners of war, and civilian protection. Non-international armed conflicts have basic prohibitions on violence to life and dignity of persons not participating in hostilities. Understanding the differences between international and non-international armed conflicts is vital. It determines the rights and obligations of parties involved and how civilians are protected. The International Committee of the Red Cross plays a key role in promoting respect for these rules and providing humanitarian assistance to affected populations. As conflicts continue to unfold, knowing these distinctions helps clarify the legal framework that governs the protection of civilians and combatants during armed conflicts.